to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles and joining me today is from our EBC Maldives Bureau. Hello, Steffi.
Hello, Alma, and I'm Steffi Di Juan, your EBC Maldives Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. The House of Representatives is set to approve on third and final reading a measure establishing a vaccine indemnity fund and expediting the purchase of vaccines against the coronavirus disease.
Britain and Canada on Thursday imposed sanctions on general in Myanmar for human rights violation following the military takeover in the Southeast Asian country.
Can you give us a little bit?
And later, infectious disease expert from the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, the island territory of Guam, will give us an update on the coronavirus disease. We were able to talk to Dr. Edgar M. Magcalas, a Filipino infectious disease expert there.
The House of Representatives is set to approve on third and final reading on Monday, February 22, a measure establishing a vaccine indemnity fund and expediting the purchase of vaccines against the coronavirus disease. Speaker Lord Alan Velasco made a statement on Friday after President Rodrigo Duterte certified as urgent House Bill number 8648 and Senate Bill number 2057. The bill is now up for second reading after it was approved by the House Committee and Appropriations and sponsored in plenary. Aside from the indemnification bill, Velasco said the House is also prepared to pass the proposed bayanihan to arise as one act of bayanihan fee, which proposes at 420 billion pesos fund for the much-needed COVID-19 response and recovery interventions. Bayanihan is also included at 25 billion budget for COVID-19 treatment and vaccines. He noted that the Chamber has always been supportive of national government's efforts to fight the coronavirus pandemic. Weather disturbance, Aurine has intensified into severe tropical storm or STS as it continues to move slowly to the southwest, the Weather Bureau said on Friday. In its 11 a.m. bulletin, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration or PAG-ASA said Aurine now packs maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour near the center of gustiness of up to 115 kilometers per hour. Aurine was last seen 535 kilometers east-southeast of Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur. Tropical cyclone wind, signal number 1, was hoisted over Davao Oriental, the eastern portion of Davao de Oro, Pantucan, Maragusan, New Bataan, Compostela, Moncayo, the eastern portion of Agusan del Sur, Sibagat, Bayugan City, Prosperidad, Talacogon, San Francisco Rosario, Bunawan, Santa Josepa, Trento, and Surigao del Sur. Light to moderate with at times heavy rain shower is expected to continue over Caraga, Davao Oriental, Davao de Oro, and Davao del Norte. PAG-ASA said strong breeze to near gale conditions with occasionally higher gusts are being experienced over northern Luzon and the eastern section of central and southern Luzon. the Visayas and Mindanao due to the surge of the northeast monsoon. Rough to high seas will be experienced over the eastern seaboard of Mindanao. Britain and Canada on Thursday imposed sanctions on general in Myanmar for human rights violations following the military takeover in the Southeast Asian country. The UK Foreign Ministry said it was imposing sanctions on key junta officials, including the Ministers of Defense and Home Affairs, and had begun a review to stop UK businesses working with the regime. The UK condemns the military coup and the arbitrary detentions of Aung San Suu Kyi and other political figures. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said in a statement, referring to Myanmar's de facto leader who was detained in a coup. We, alongside our international allies, we hold the Myanmar military to account for their violations of human rights and pursue justice for the Myanmar people, he added. The United States has already sanctioned Myanmar leaders after the February 1 coup. Canadian Foreign Minister Mark Garneau announced a broader sanctions list affecting 9 officials in Myanmar.
How does digital technology intertwine with Chinese New Year celebrations? Revisiting Malaysia and Singapore, here's Ruby Tinawin from our EBC Kuala Lumpur Bureau.
When vibrant red decorations like lanterns and colorful lights started to fill the streets and shopping malls, we know the Chinese New Year is approaching. Also known as Lunar New Year or Spring Festival, it is one of the most colorful and grandest festival in the world.
Chinese New Year is a significant time of the year where millions of people make their way home for a reunion dinner with the whole family. Fireworks and laughter normally fills the air of every Chinese household. The night gets busy with exchange of greetings and good wishes among relatives and friends. Children and single adults get excited knowing they will receive their ang paos or luck money in red envelopes. For countries like Malaysia and Singapore, Chinese New Year is the longest public holiday recorded in the calendar year. The festivities, which started on the New Year's Eve, last until the full moon arrives with the Lantern Festival. A total of 15 days where the whole country is on the move visiting relatives and loved ones as part of their traditions. Before the COVID-19 outbreak, some families even traveled together during this holiday, making the Chinese New Year the world's largest annual migration season. The recurring COVID-19 outbreaks have forced governments around the world to impose extended lockdowns and control measures. Restrictions on mass gatherings and travel orders included. These disruptions, however, opened up new innovative ways of keeping with the Chinese New Year traditions. Acknowledging its importance, Malaysia and Singapore governments opted for digital celebrations and hosted many virtual performances and activities everyone can enjoy at the comfort of their homes. Malaysia's Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture will be hosting its very first virtual Chinese New Year open house this weekend. To be officiated by Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, the celebration would be streamed live through the ministry's official Facebook page and Malaysia's local television network. State governments have also prepared many virtual Chinese New Year celebrations to bring joy to homes across Malaysia amid the pandemic. Digital technology became an essential part of Singapore's celebration of Chinese New Year this year. Despite the many restrictions due to COVID-19 pandemic, the spirits of getting together for the celebration continues through the help of modern technologies. Singaporeans were introduced to digital ang pao as an alternative to physical red envelopes. And although there's no live performances to popular places like River Hong Bao and Chinatown, screening of pre-recorded dance and Getai performances still awaits the visitors. Event planners also offer Chinese New Year virtual celebration packages clients can enjoy. The absence of physical and face-to-face meetup due to restriction orders gave way to virtual events and spike in the use of mobile apps and social media platforms to carry out the Chinese New Year traditions. Virtual reunion dinners, virtual fireworks, virtual family get-together activities, all made possible with digital technology. The instant money transfer service apps made the giving out and receiving of ang paos or luck money possible as well, while dressing up in red and other bright colors as the outfit of the day continues.
This year's Chinese New Year celebration maybe is unconventional and what is considered as the new normal. The new digital experience may bring discomfort to many, but it has proven its worth during this pandemic. Shinyan Kuala. Reporting from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Ruby Tinawin. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Ruby. Meanwhile, the island territory of Guam currently has 8,674 with a total of 131 deaths of COVID-19. It is in the level of 4 status, meaning very high level of COVID-19 in Guam. Now we were able to talk to Dr. Edgar M. Magcalas, an infectious disease expert there, specifically in the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority. Let's listen in.
Can you give us a little bit of a history kung paano nag-start dyan sa Guam yung COVID?
Noong lumabas ang alert about COVID-19 from CDC sa US. So, mga January po yata yun, no? Nung si President Trump sinabi niya na, okay, it may go away, it may, who knows, by summer, wala na yun. So, we don't know much, anything about COVID at that time. Alam lang natin, kamag-anak siya ng yung SARS, kung natatandaan niyo yung SARS virus na nangyari sa Hong Kong. Isa pang coronavirus. Hindi pa ho natin alam at that time kung gaano ka-extend yung infection. Kasi ang China hindi naman nagbibigay ng accurate information. However, noong as days passes by, nakakakuha tayo ng more information. Now, dito we never had the first case until po nung March. It was reported po na a Filipino who traveled from Philippines to Guam. Few days later, nagkaroon sila ng symptoms, shortness of breath, nag-fever. So, in-isolate na po natin yon at the time. And yung mag-asawa sila silang na hospital. Tapos limited pa ho ang testing natin noon. So wala pong restriction na ginawa about the travelers, tsaka hindi naman lahat tinetest. So nung nagkaroon ng first COVID case, doon na nag-start na mag-form ang government po rito ng tawag doon, committee sa hospital, unang-una. Kami ho yun. Siyempre, nagkaubusan ng PPE. Hindi namin expected doon. Tsaka lahat po ninenervyos. Kasi hindi natin alam kung sinong, pag tinamaan ka, mamamatay ka ba? Pag tinamaan ka, anong gamot ang gagamitin natin? Hindi namin din alam. Mga may edad, middle age pataas, medyo hindi maganda ang epekto ng COVID. bukod sa PPE, sobrang panat at panalangin ho ang ginagawa namin. Ang pneumonia po is a diagnosis na ibig sabihin may infection yung lungs. Ang pneumonia po can be caused by many things, po, by many organisms. Pwedeng bacteria yan, no? Tatawag na bacterial pneumonia. Viral pneumonia, tulad ng pneumonia na because of flu, influenza, kasi pwedeng mag-progress into pneumonia. COVID-19 is one of the virus that causes pneumonia po. So pagka napunta yung virus sa na-inhale nyo, napunta sa lungs nyo, magkukos ng inflammation yon. Siyempre, magre-react yung katawan. Yung katawan, it's trying to destroy the virus. And dahil dun ho sa process na yon, magkakaroon ng swelling yung lungs. Yun ho yung pneumonia. So, pwedeng mag-cause ang COVID ng pneumonia. And in fact, yun ho ang unang-unang na-identify natin. At mamatay, COVID pneumonia. In fact po, pagka may symptoms sila na parang hirap huminga, nilagnat, masakit ang katawan, tapos in X-ray, nakita yung X-ray abnormal. Hindi natin usually nakikita yun sa mga regular lang na parang flu o trangkaso.
Yung pang travel restrictions, Doc, were they successful in stemming the spread to date?
Sa ibang bansa po, opo. Pagka tinignan nyo ang Taiwan, tinignan nyo ang New Zealand, at saka Iceland, mabababa yung kanilang cases. Tsaka po, hindi lang, in addition to travel po, yung mga mamamayan nila, talaga sumusunod naman. So, na-break ho yung transmission. Pagka lang may dumating na, kunyari, nakalusot, asymptomatic, nakalusot, tapos hahawa yun, magkakaroon ng mga sporadic cases. Mangilan, ma-identify nila yon, i-isolate na nila kagad para hindi kalat. Kaya, may epekto po. May epekto ang restriction ng travel.
Initially, most countries experience problems, Doc, with test and tracing. How was Guam's implementation? Populations, were these accepted, these measures, dyan po sa Guam? Or
yung testing?
Or was there a resistance like in the mainland?
Hindi po. In general po kasi dito, para mga Pilipino, maraming Pilipino dito, tapos yung mga population dito na mga lokal, parang mga hybrid na rin eh. May mga Pilipino, halo sila, tsaka mga Romanian. Tapos may mga iba pang mga galing ibang islands, yung siguro alam nyo po yun, yung mga Palau, Osray, Saipan, yung mga ganyan po. Mga islanders. Plaza naman po, kumpara sa mainland, medyo masunurin yung mga tao rito. May ilan na hindi. Pero in general po, lalo na po yung mga Pilipino rin naman, pagkakaroon nyo po, yung mga Pilipino napunta sa ibang bansa, nagiging masunurin eh. Kaya po noong in-implement ho yung lockdown, siyempre may nagreklamo. Po nung March, hindi naman ganun karami yung cases namin. Pagdating ng mga bandang March, April, May, mga July halos na nawala na, parang 1, 2, mga ganun lang, 3. Nagkaroon ho ng break sa travel noong medyo nag-ease sila ng konti. Merong islander na galing Hawaii na naka-quarantine sila, pero tinest. Binrake yung kanilang quarantine. Lumabas sila kahit hindi pa lumabas yung resulta. Tapos, they found out na positive pala sila. Nagkaroon kasi sila ng ng funeral. Ang daming nag-attend. So, nagkahawa-hawa. Po yun, August. Or August, September, parang ganun. And then, biglang nag-surge nag-spike yung cases. So, from 300 cases from yung March all the way up to July, parang 300 lang ang nag-positive dito. Ang population namin dito po, approximately 160,000 individuals. So parang 300 out of 160,000 lang. Nung nagsimula na ho yung break sa quarantine at nagkaroon kami ng second wave, kung masasabi nyo second wave yon, umabot po kami ng from 300 to naging 1,000, tapos naging 2,000. Ngayon po, nasa 7,000 kami plus. 7,000 plus. Pag kinumpara nyo yung mga namamatay po, hindi naman po kami nalalayo dun sa rate ng mga namamatay sa mainland din. Halos parehas din. Kahit lang ang resources namin dito.
How fast is the virus evolving there po? How is the medical field coping with
ngayon po, after
vaccine development also?
Opo. Noong inapruban ng US FDA yung two vaccines po, no? Yung Moderna at saka Pfizer. Una yung Pfizer and then weeks later yung Moderna.
Yes.
So, bandang December po yun eh. Binigyan kami ng mga, I can't remember kung ilan po yung dosage. So, nauna kaming mga frontline workers po na nabigyan ng mga immunization. And then later on, nung na-approve na po yung Moderna, nagpadala, lagi kaming may pinapadala. I think at least mga over 20,000 or 30,000 na yata yung nababakunahan ngayon. And yung pong mga tao, willing sila. May mangilan-ngilan lang na, alam niyo po, skeptical sila kahit anong gawin nating education. Sabi nila, ba't ang bilis ma-develop niyan? Wala pang 1 taon. Yung mga regular bakuna, mga 10 years or ilang years bago aprubahan, gamitin. Pero yan, ba't ako magpapabakuna? Yung po yung inaano po.
But how do you look at it, sir? Yung vaccinations. Did you have the 2 doses na po?
Opo.
Na kayo for vaccination?
Months ago pa po yung aking last dose. So meron ho akong antibody testing before ng immunization ko negative. And then nung naka-receive na po ako ng second dose ko, 4 weeks later, nag-decide ako magpa-test, although hindi naman talaga official yun. Positive na po yung antibody ko. So, that means protected po ako. Hindi lang natin alam ngayon kung how long the protection is. Pero ayon sa mga vaccine developer at saka researchers, at a year, meron. Pero dahil ho ongoing pa yung studies, hindi po natin alam. Tapos may mga variants na lumalabas. Pero ang importante po, para matigil ang pandemic po, tulad nangyari noong 1918, yung influenza, nung sila ng herd immunity, at least 70 to 80% ng population dapat may antibody na para limited na yung transmission. Hindi pa kasi na-prove kung if vaccination can prevent transmission. Hindi pa wala po tayong data about that. In fact, meron yung 4 cases na na-complete nila yung vaccine, nagka-COVID din sila. After vaccination, nagka-COVID sila, pero it was mild COVID.
Opo.
Ang danger po, kung ako ay nagka-COVID, hindi ko alam kasi may antibody ako, baka kasi ma-transmit ko sa iba. Yun ho yung hindi pa natin alam yung sagot doon kasi yung kanilang studying dinesign, hindi nila in-address yung issue na yon doon sa vaccine.
So, yan pa yung mga gray areas.
Oo, opo. Siguro by, may lalabas na data dyan kasi kaya sila yung pagka nagpa-vaccinate kayo dito, bibigyan nila kayo ng QR code. Magre-register kayo doon, mapupunta kayo sa US FDA, Tapos i-enter nyo kung kailan kayo vinaccinate, anong brand. Tapos araw-araw tinetext ka during the first week. Or first weeks, ite-text ka nila, sasagutin mo yung mga questions kung ano yung mga symptoms mo. And then after like 1 week, ite-text ka nila mga once a week, gano'n, nagre-report ka if you're still okay. So nakaka-gather sila ng data.
So medyo slow po ang acceptance there in Guam po, no, sa vaccination.
Hindi po. Ano sila rito? They are very eager. Ang slow ngayon.
Mga ilan-ilan lang po.
Opo, sa community po, at least mga 70% po, I would say.
That's good. So what is Guam's timeline for the entire population's immunization po?
According to President Biden, sabi niya by the end of, kasi kasama kami dun eh.
Yes, of course.
By the end of June or July, mababakunahan na ang buong US. Kasi po dun nanggagaling ang aming mga vaccine. So, kung nira-ramp up nila yung production, magkakaroon dito, mabilis din ang immunization namin. Gawa ng lahat halos ng clinic ngayon nag-apply na to immunize people. Tumutulong mga US National Guard na mag-set up ng mga vaccination centers in addition to public health. And even the hospital, they are helping po to speed up the vaccination bago dumating yung mga variants uli.
All right, Steffi and I will be back with that interview plus more after a short break.
It is time to listen to the youth in a project developed by the Worldwide Fund for Nature Philippines called QC 2030. We will be talking about sustainability that impacts on society, environment, and economy.
Malaki ang parte na magiging maipi-play ng mga small business owners or entrepreneurs para mas ma-develop yung mga ideas na naumpisahan na ng mga kabataan.
Ito pong ginagawa po namin, hindi lang po ito para sa kinabukasan namin, kundi para sa fellow youth po namin at ng mga susunod pa pong generation.
Ms. Aimee Belian, Project Manager, Worldwide Fund for Nature Philippines, and Ms. Ila Adige, our City 2030 Student Facilitator, will be joining us in this week's episode of Open for Business.
Kaninong boses ang mangingibabaw upang kunin ang huling pwesto sa buwan ng Pebrero? Let's find out dito sa tumitinding bosesan sa biggest talent competition on Philippine TV and online. This is Tag-Isa ng Galing Part 2 Singing Edition.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Meanwhile, let's get the latest in coronavirus campaign drive in Vietnam. Here's Micah Gwyneth Apostol, our EVC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Steffi.
Yes.
The latest update from
Okay, we'll have Micah back as soon as we have a better connection. We still continue with our interview with Dr. Edgar M. Magcalas, an infectious disease expert there in Guam. Let's listen in.
Ang restriction, yung restaurant, they are allowed to fill up to 50% ng
Now, Ngayon po.
Ngayon, oo. Balak pa nilang i-ease up uli yun.
I see. Pero countries like New Zealand, they're expecting a spike in cases now.
Nabasa ko rin po yata yun eh. Merong 3 cases tapos biglang may 3-day lockdown kagad sila.
Opo, using snap lockdown sila. Is Guam also monitoring developments in other countries po?
Lalo na sa US mainland kasi tsaka yung mga countries like South Korea, Japan. Kasi dyan sa Philippines, tinitignan din nila kasi dyan nang gagaling lahat ng mga tourists at saka po mga travelers na nagpupunta rito. So it's very important that we know kung ano yung mga policies nila doon, restrictions nila, para pagka-travel sila rito, when Guam opens up for the tourists, nila yung mga requirements para pagbalik nila sa mga bansa nila, we can provide them services para hindi mahirap ang pagbalik. Kasi one thing na nagpe-prevent for people to travel is yung mga quarantine po. Kung ako pupunta ng Philippines, maka-quarantine ako ng 2 weeks pa dyan o kahit na sabihin yung 1 week. Tapos pagbalik dito, maka-quarantine uli ako ng 2 weeks. Ay, ilan hubang bakasyon meron tayo?
Opo. Ang hirap po mag-travel ngayon, Talagang... It's such
super.
Super po. In terms of financial assistance, is government addressing Guam's COVID-19 needs po?
Opo, nakaka-receive sila ng mga help sa federal government, lalo na yung public unemployment assistance. Yung iba po, parang mas gusto nila yung wag nang matapos yung pandemic kasi mas marami silang nakukuha.
Okay naman po pala, at least their needs are being addressed, po.
Opo, yung iba naman, dahil hindi naman sila talaga employed dati, so hindi naman sila nabibigyan ng money. Pero lagi na ho silang merong yung mga yun eh. Kahit na po hindi sila nagtatrabaho dahil indigent sila or something, they get assistance like food stamps, po, yung may regular silang card na may certain amount of money to buy food. Depende sa size ng family.
So the islands like Guam and the Philippines, I noticed, are very strict about their border restrictions. Given that we are supposed to get safer, we aren't landlocked like those European countries.
Opo, kasi medyo mahirap, lalo na sabi ko nga po earlier, mahirap yung resources namin ko konti. Ngayon po, gamit namin kasi kailangan magpahinga rin yung mga critical care doctors po. Yun lang nangyari, parang 24/7 for almost 1 year. Tawag ka. So ang ginagawa po namin ngayon, meron kaming tinatawag na telemedicine.
Yes.
Meron kaming machine nun, yung doktor nasa mainland US, araw sa kanila, gabi dito, at saka during the weekend po. Nasa big screen yung doktor, nakaharap sa camera. Yung machine na yon may nakadikit na stethoscope, may na pen light. Parang parang nandun ka na except it is a robot. So ilalagay lang yung stethoscope dito po, no? Narinig ng doktor sa kabilang sa Amerika, sa other side of the world.
Anyways, in 1980, there were several waves ng pandemic. What do you see will cause a second or third wave? Tapos, how should we prepare for these pandemic waves po?
Sa tingin ko po, baka magkaroon po ulit tayo kung uulitin natin yung mga mistakes na ginawa ng nakaraan. Dahil hanggang ngayon po, wala pa naman talagang effective treatment na na-discover. Meron silang in-approve. Pero pagka tinignan nyo yung mga studies, ilang minor percentage lang ng mga pasyenteng ginamitan ng gamot, ang talagang nakikita mong nag-i-improve. Ang isa lang nakita ko sa na gamot na ginagamit na super effective, and if you give it at the early stage of the disease, especially sa mga high-risk individual, yung tinatawag na monoclonal antibodies. Napipigilan niyang ma-hospital yung pasyente, napipigilan niyang lumala. Parang in a matter of day or two, they feel better. Kasi nadidecrease yung burden ng virus. Ang problema doon, it's super expensive and the production is very limited po. No? So, hanggat hindi...
COVID po? This is used for COVID?
Opo, for COVID po. Yung ginamit po kay President Trump, yung Regeneron, narinig niyo ba yon?
Yes.
Opo, yun yung monoclonal antibodies po. Yung tumatalab talaga siya. If it's given early stage of the disease, bago ka ma-hospital, kunya kayo ay high-risk individual, nandun kayo sa list, may listahan mo yun kung ilang edad, ano yung mga sakit nyo, anong timbang nyo, yung mga ganon. Tapos pagka qualified kayo doon, nasa first week pa lang kayo ng disease, parang may lagnat lang kayo, may inuubo-ubo, bago kayo lumala, binigyan kayo ng antibody na yon. Yung mga symptoms nyo, usually within 48 hours, halos nawawala na. So,
binigay kay Trump, yes.
Yeah, may 12 po kami. I think 14 na pasyenteng binigyan dito. 2 na hospital out of 14. Tapos rin yung 2 na hospital na walang problem. Sa kanila high risks. Kung hindi namin ginamitan yun ng antibody, baka yung 14 na yun, baka lumala sila, baka hanggang ngayon nasa hospital pa kung di sila namatay. At saka po yung tanong nyo kung magkakaroon pa ng third wave or kung lalo na po sa Philippines, wala pa tayong vaccine dyan, di po ba? Hanggang ngayon pinag-uusapan paano bang kukunin natin, Pfizer ba, Sinovac, Sinopharm, parang narinig ko kanina parang AstraZeneca yata ang gusto niyo kunin. So, hindi naman po nawala yung, kahit na nag-i-ease up ang government, hindi naman nawala yung COVID andyan pa rin. So kung patuloy tayong magbe-break doon sa transmission protocol, yun pong 6 feet away, tapos hindi ka nagmamask, talaga magkakaroon po ng third wave. Hindi mawawala yun. Ang possibility na po yun talaga mataas, lalo na nandyan yung variant na mas infectious.
Yes.
US po, dumadami na, nakita na nila yung variant, dumadami na yung mga cases.
Yes.
So, I think yung Pfizer at saka Moderna nag-start ng gumawa ng mga new vaccine to address this issue. And I read in one of the news sa England, sinasama na nila yung isang part pa ng virus doon kanilang vaccine design para to address the issue of variant, para kung nagkaroon pa ng ibang variant, hindi siya basta-basta mawawala ng effect.
Yung third wave, no? Pwede rin po na due to pandemic fatigue na rin, ano po?
Opo, kasi nagsasawa na tayo tsaka marami po, naghihirap na rin, wala nang hanap buhay, hindi alam paano kakain, mataas ang presyo ng mga bilihin dahil konti ang supply. Sabi nila, imbis na mamatay ako sa gutom, di bali na, basta wag, kahit na magkasakit ako, wag lang ako mamatay sa gutom, saka pamilya ko.
Said about yung variants, merong sinabi si Dr. Fauci about the variants, di ba? Parang 3 na ho ba yung variants ngayon? UK, South Africa, and may Brazil pa.
Brazilian. Marami na pong variant, hindi lang masyadong nire-report yung iba kasi mga minor mutations yun. Ang nire-report nila of interest yung tulad nung nangyari dun sa South Africa, wherein yung mga nagka-COVID na dati, nagka-COVID ulit. Tapos, and they were sicker than the first time they got the old COVID. So, nung tinignan nila yung genome noon, yung parang DNA po, tinignan nila yung sequence ng mga DNA nila.
Yes.
Diba? So, nagkaroon ng mutations yun na nagkaroon ng mas mataas na affinity. Ang ibig sabihin nun, kasi ang COVID po, bago siya mag-cause ng disease sa atin, kailangan dumikit muna siya sa cells natin po, no? Meron tinatawag na spike protein. Yung spike protein na yon, yun yung ginagamit ng virus para pumasok sa loob ng cells natin.
Yes.
Dumikit siya dun sa tinatawag nating ACE2 receptor, ACE2 receptor. Para humigit yan eh. Fit na fit. Ngayon, tulad ng iba, kumbaga, kung parang susi yon, merong susi na madulas, maraming oil, meron yung susi na kahit mahirap ipasok pero papasok pa rin. No? Kumbaga, bagong variant, nakita nila na mas mataas ang affinity ng spike protein nila doon sa receptor ng cells. You can translate that into number of virus. Kasi po, depende sa number ng virus particles na na-inhale nyo eh. So kung kunyari, merong humatsing sa inyo, sa harapan nyo, no? Nalanghap nyo 1,000 virus particle. Marami yon. Talagang magkakasakit kayo ng sobra. Kumpara dun sa, kunyari, nakamask kayo, humatsing siya, may nakalusot, pero isa lang, maaring ang immune system nyo kayang-kaya niyang to take care of that one virus particle. Para dun sa walang mask. Ngayon, naging mas, ano pa yung, kaya tinatawag na mas infectious yung variant. Kung sinasabi ni Dr. Fauci na we have to vaccinate as many people as you can. Kasi kahit po sinasabi nila na medyo decrease yung response ng vaccine, fact na meron kayong antibody. So yung old variants po, pwede po kasi kayong ma-infect eh. Pag hindi na-break yung transmission, nag-mutate everyday ang virus. Now, whether that mutation will translate into more deadly or more infectious, hindi ho natin mape-predict. So far, doon sa nakita nila sa South African variant, tsaka yung variant, medyo nakakatakot siya.
Sabi nga ni Dr. Fauci, the virus won't mutate if it doesn't replicate, di ba?
So, yun. Sa babies, mga reports lang po nakita ko. So far, ang pinaka nakakatakot lang sa mga bata, yung sa sobrang babies hindi ko na ho kasi adult infectious disease po ako eh. Yung mga journals na nababasa ko, hindi naman sila masyadong nagre-report ng mga babies. Anyway, ang mga nakakatakot na sa mga bata yung tinatawag na multi-system inflammatory reaction after na nagka-COVID yung bata. Meron na hong reported cases dyan na hindi COVID ang kinamatay kung hindi yung immune reaction ng mga bata na apektuhan yung different organs nila. Indirectly, pero you can attribute that to COVID kasi COVID ang nag-start eh. Kumbaga start niya yung sunog, binuhusan mo ng gasolina, parang ganun.
Japan, di ba ang Japan po has practiced wearing masks for a long time
even before COVID.
Before COVID, di po ba?
Even before COVID. Wala lang social distancing, pero they were using masks for a long time. Controlled naman nila yung kanilang COVID cases eh. Meron hong isang Japanese doctor dito na infectious disease din. Uuwi siya ng Japan, 2 weeks on siya doon, tapos 2 weeks siya rito. So every time na umuwi siya ng Japan na suswab siya, at every time na pupunta siya rito, nasa swab din. So parang twice twice a month nasuswab siya. Controlled naman yung ano nila. Every now and then, nagkakaroon sila ng spike din. So may cases na rin sila ng variant po dun eh. I think.
Swerte kayo dyan, you don't experience anti-Asian Pacific Islander
Opo.
prejudice due to COVID.
Oo, hindi ka paniwala yun, pero nangyayari po. Majority kasi dito, mga Asians, Islander, tapos may mga Koreans kami, konting Japanese. Mga Caucasians, konti lang. Either they're coming from the military or few Russians. May mga Russian asylum. Pero handful lang po yun. Hindi naman sila ganun karami.
So, maswerte nga ho kayo. Hindi kayo nakaka-experience ng ganun. Unlike in the mainland, ang lakas po talaga ng anti-Asian prejudice po doon.
Opo, even before pa naman ng COVID, meron ng...
Parang nag-spike po, parang there was an uptick during this pandemic.
Oo, kasi frustrated sila. Sinisisi nila yung mga kala nila pagka Asian ka, Chinese ka na. Galing Chinese dahil tinawag ni Trump ng Chinese virus.
Anyways, sir, finally, in your assessment, what are the prospects for the success of immunization and the spread of the virus? Are we to cope with this situation in 2 or more, 3 years? Your take on curbing the spread?
Okay po. I can speak for dito sa Guam and US. Hindi ko po alam kung paano sa ibang bansa. If the government, especially the federal government, would give us vaccine by the end of June, more people will be willing to get vaccinated, which I think they are. Kasi ang haba ng pila eh. Mahalt yung transmission. Of course, merong variant that the current vaccine may or may not be able to cover. And I'm pretty sure by this time they are working already on those issues. So, kung itutuloy ng mga tao yung dapat ituloy, yung social distancing, mask, and everything, hand washing, siguro by the end of next year po, I think baka ma-curb na yung pandemic kung lahat ng tao makikiisa. I don't think matatapos this year yon. Wish lang natin na sana matapos, no? Pero po, kung mabakunahan lang natin this year, not necessarily na matatapos na yon. And then, beginning of 2022, at least yung mga cases down na. So, wala na yung dating problema, yung old COVID, yung new COVID ang dinidil natin at majority ng population ay vaccinated, may antibody. Pero syempre, itutuloy pa rin yung it's not na pagka nagkaroon ka ng COVID, sasabihin mo, super immune na ako, hindi na ako magmamask, hindi na ako So if we're going to that attitude, siguro po baka if not the end of next year or maybe earlier, baka matapos na yung pandemic. Kung lahat ng bansa ay ganun. Of course, kung gusto rin ng Diyos na tapusin na, dapat siya. Siguro makakakita pa tayo po ng mga cases by 2023. The way it happens. Kasi I think yung 1918 influenza pandemic, how many years sila? 4, 5 years? During that time, wala pang immunization eh. Tayo ron. So, in their case, 4 years. Sa atin, baka maha-half natin yun. Or maybe a little bit less.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much for your valuable insights and information. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you din po for the opportunity, and I hope na ito ay makatulong sa mga makikinig, lalo sa mga kababayan natin, mga kapatid. Na sana lagi tayong manalig sa taas at gawin natin ang dapat gawin na inuutos ng gobyerno. Kung hindi naman nakakasama sa atin, bakit hindi natin gawin? Kasi siyempre, nakikinig din naman sila sa mga experts. Yun po. Sabi kasi ng kapatid ko, batiin ko raw siya.
Yes. Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead.
Kasi po, nabati ko yung aking kapatid, isa siya sa Pangulong Diakono dyan sa lokal ng Novaliches, si Brad Pitt. Happy birthday. At saka po isa sa mga kapatid ko na Diakono din dyan sa lokal ng North Diversion, si Brother Rolando Magcalas. Happy anniversary sa inyo. Sana marami pang years ang umabot, ang magkita-kita ulit din tayo, maka-reunion. At yung kapatid ko na ministro dyan sa Kidapawan, kapatid na Noel, binabati kita. Marami ka sanang mabunga para lagi kang pasado. At yung mga hindi ko nabati, huwag kayong magdamdam. Baka imbitahan uli ako dito.
Oh, for sure, Doctor. Imbitahan namin kayo ulit. Thank you very much, Doc, for your information, and happy birthday, happy anniversary to everybody in your family. And thank you so much sa ulitin po.
Alright, meanwhile, let's get the latest news in the coronavirus campaign drive in Vietnam. Joining us live here is Micah Gwyneth Apostol, our EBC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Steffi.
Yes, I am.
This is the latest news from Vietnam News. Health Ministry permitted by 200 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine on February 3. The Drug Administration has permitted the import of the first 200,000 doses of the Oxford or AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. This is the first set of Vietnam's request of 30 million doses of the first vaccine bought directly from the manufacturer, along with 4.5 million doses that the country is gaining from the organization that COVAX initiative aimed at equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines at the end of pandemic, especially for needful and countries. This set, created by the South Korean pharmaceutical company Co. Limited, is assumed to be delivered in the country on February 28. The administration's document approving the import noted that AstraZeneca, the import company, is in charge for the origin, quality of the import. The vaccines are used for the proper purpose and in a secure and effective manner. Formerly, Vietnamese health authorities have state emergency use approval for the first COVID-19 vaccine, which is the Oxford or AstraZeneca vaccine, to obtain such authorization in the country in 3 months, when the vaccine for 5 million people, mostly frontline workers, will be in the first step, with the second. According to Le Van Truy, chairman of the Advisory Council for the Granting of Drug Registration Numbers, Vietnam made a decision for the Oxford or Zeneca vaccine because it could be stored at normal fridge temperatures of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, instead of strictly really cold storage like Moderna and Pfizer parts. He even added that the company to cooperate with several countries in Europe and Asia to produce the vaccines. Vietnam has one locally made COVID-19 vaccine, NanoCovax, in the second phase human trials, with another expected to start at the end of February. The importing of COVID-19 vaccines must be considered the highest priority of the government. as the country is battling its biggest wave of community infections that has recorded over 700 since January 27. Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc at a recent cabinet meeting has said. Back to you, Steffi.
Thank you so much, Micah. Thank you so much for your update. You stay safe and stay healthy.
You too, stay safe and stay healthy. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam. This is Micah Gunath Apostle. We live in interesting times.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Steffi, for joining me today and helping me out. Have a great weekend.
Yes, Alma, thank you so much. And that's the latest news today in ASEAN region. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus. This is Steffi Di Juan, your EBC Maldives Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
We'll see you back next week. I'm Alma Angeles, and we'll live in interesting times.